Lily Crawford was drawing a picture of a six-legged creature when the sky turned orange. She looked up from her notebook and saw fire falling toward the city. The other children in room 14 saw it too. Someone screamed. Mrs. Patterson moved fast. She pulled the emergency curtains and told everyone to get under their desks. The old teacher had done many fire drills before, but this was not a fire. This was something much worse. The ground shook. Glass broke somewhere in the building. Lily stayed calm. Her mother had told her stories about the Vorthak, the alien species from the cold world far away. They were warriors. They had conquered many planets, and now it seemed they had come to Earth. The door exploded inward. Lily watched from under her desk as tall figures entered the classroom. They wore black armor and carried weapons that hummed with energy. Their skin was gray and rough like stone. Their eyes were small and red, and they clicked their jaws when they spoke to each other. The leader stepped forward. His translator box made his words sound flat and mechanical. All humans will remain still. You are now prisoners of the Vorthak Dominion. Mrs. Patterson stood up slowly, her hands raised. These are children. Please, they are only children. The leader, whose armor had gold markings on the chest, looked at the small humans hiding under desks. He made a sound that might have been laughter. Human young are even weaker than adults. They are no threat, they are nothing. Lily watched him carefully. She noticed how he stood in the shadow, away from the bright window. She noticed how his soldiers kept adjusting their grip on their weapons, like the handles were wet. She noticed how one soldier near the door kept rubbing his chest, breathing heavily in the warm room. The Vorthak commander, whose name was Draven, spoke into his communication device. Area secured. 23 small humans and 1 adult female. We will hold this position until the relay is established on the roof. 23, he had counted them. Lily counted the soldiers, 6 plus Draven, 7 total. 7 aliens in a room with 23 children and 1 teacher. Draven did not think this was a problem. To him, human children were like furniture. Objects that could not fight, could not think, could not matter. He was very wrong. Lily's mother was Dr. Anna Crawford, one of Earth's leading experts on alien biology. For years, she had studied the Vorthak during the time when humans and Vorthak tried to be friends. That friendship had failed, but the knowledge remained. And Dr. Crawford had shared that knowledge with her daughter. Lily knew things. She knew that Vorthak came from a cold, dry planet with a dim red sun. She knew that their lungs worked differently from human lungs. She knew that bright light hurt their eyes and that water made their skin uncomfortable. She knew they were standing in a classroom with big windows, a working humidifier, and a full set of sprinklers in the ceiling. Ben Walker, her friend who sat 2 desks away, was shaking with fear. His eyes were wet with tears. Lily caught his attention and gave him a small smile. She put her finger to her lips. "Stay quiet," the gesture said. "I have an idea." Mrs. Patterson was trying to reason with Draven. She asked for water for the children. She asked if they could use the bathroom. She asked for anything that would make the aliens see her students as living beings instead of objects. Draven ignored her. He was busy with his communication device, talking to someone called Admiral Saunter. From what Lily could hear, the Vorthak fleet was in orbit above Earth. They were launching attacks on many cities at once. This school was just one small part of a much larger invasion. But Lily did not care about the larger invasion. She cared about room 14. She cared about her classmates and her teacher, and she was already building a plan in her mind. One of the soldiers, a female with silver markings on her armor, walked closer to Lily's desk. She looked down at the human girl with those small red eyes. "This one is not crying," the soldier said. Her name was Riss. "The others make water from their eyes, but this one does not." Draven glanced over. "It is broken, perhaps. Human young are fragile. It does not matter." Riss continued to stare at Lily. Lily stared back, keeping her face empty and calm. "There is something wrong with this one," Riss said quietly. "Focus on your duties," Draven ordered. "We are here for the relay, not for studying primitive children." Riss turned away, but Lily had seen something in those red eyes. It was the smallest flicker of doubt. Good, doubt was useful. Doubt meant they might hesitate when the time came. Outside, Lily could hear sirens. Human military forces were responding to the attack, but they could not storm a building full of children. The aliens knew this. That was why they had chosen a school. Time was not on humanity's side, but time was exactly what Lily needed. She began to plan. The classroom was quiet except for the soft crying of some children and the clicking sounds the Vorthak made when they spoke to each other. Lily stayed under her desk, watching everything. She watched how the soldiers moved. They were slow and careful, like they were walking on ice. She watched how they kept their weapons pointed at the floor most of the time, like the guns were heavy. She watched how they breathed, quick and shallow, like runners who had gone too far. Her mother had told her that the Vorthak home world was much colder than Earth. The air there was thin and dry. Here, in this warm classroom on a summer day, the aliens were struggling. They just did not know it yet. Lily raised her hand. Draven stared at her. "What is this gesture?" "It means I want to speak," Lily said in a small voice. She made herself sound scared and young. "Please, sir, I need to use the bathroom." The commander made a disgusted sound. "Human bodies are inefficient. Very well, one soldier will escort you." He pointed at a guard near the door. The soldier grabbed Lily's arm and pulled her up. His grip was strong but clumsy. His gray fingers felt cold and dry like dead leaves. They walked down the empty hallway to the bathroom. The soldier stood outside while Lily went in. She moved quickly. She turned on all the hot water taps. Steam began to fill the small room. She opened the window to let in the warm summer air. Then she waited. After 2 minutes, the soldier opened the door. "Human, hurry." He stepped into the bathroom and immediately stopped. His breathing changed. It became faster, harder. The steam was filling his lungs and his body did not like it. He leaned against the wall, his red eyes blinking rapidly. Lily walked past him slowly. "Are you okay?" "Silence," he growled, but his voice was weak. When they returned to the classroom, Lily sat back under her desk. She had learned what she needed to know. The humidity was a weapon, a slow weapon, but a weapon all the same. She looked at Ben and used the hand signs they had learned last year. Their class had a deaf student, so everyone knew basic sign language. Now that knowledge had a new purpose. "Follow my lead," Lily signed. "Stay calm, act scared." Ben's eyes went wide, but he nodded slightly. Over the next hour, Lily spread the message. When soldiers were not looking, she passed small notes to the children near her. Those children passed notes to others. Soon, everyone in the class knew that something was happening. They did not know what, but they knew to watch Lily and follow her lead. Mrs. Patterson noticed too. She was a smart woman who had taught for 30 years. She could read her students well. She saw the way Lily was watching the aliens, and she understood that the quiet girl had a plan. When Lily raised her hand again, Mrs. Patterson was ready. "Please," Lily said to Draven, "I have asthma. It is hard for me to breathe. Can we turn on the humidifier?" Draven looked at the machine in the corner. "What is its function?" "It makes the air wet," Mrs. Patterson said quickly. "Several of my students have breathing problems. The machine helps them." The commander did not care about human health, but he also did not want dead hostages. Dead hostages had no value. "Do as you wish. It does not matter." Mrs. Patterson walked to the humidifier and turned it on. Cool mist began to flow into the room. Sub-Commander Riss watched this with narrow eyes. She had been observing the human girl since the beginning, and she did not like what she saw. Most human children were crying or frozen with fear. This one was asking questions. This one was watching. This one was thinking. "Commander," Riss said quietly, "the small female is strange. She shows no fear." Draven was busy with his communication device. "She is a child. What threat could she possibly present? Focus on the mission." Riss wanted to argue, but Vorthak's soldiers did not question their commanders. It was not their way. So she stayed silent and watched the human girl, waiting for something she could not name. The humidity in the room continued to rise. The mist from the machine mixed with the warm air. Some children began breathing on the windows, making them foggy. Others spilled their water bottles on the floor. Small accidents that meant nothing on their own. But Lily knew they were adding up. The Vorthak soldiers began to shift and fidget. Their movements became slower. Their red eyes blinked more often. One soldier near the window stepped back into the shadows, away from the bright sunlight. Draven's communication device crackled with static. "Admiral Saunter, please repeat. The signal is unclear." The static grew worse. Lily smiled a very small smile that no. One saw the water in the air was affecting their technology. Everything was working. Now she just needed to push a little harder. 2 hours had passed since the Vorthak took the classroom. Outside, human military vehicles surrounded the school. Inside, the aliens waited for their relay to be completed on the roof. And in room 14, Lily Crawford continued her quiet war. She raised her hand again. By now, Draven expected this. The human child seemed to have endless questions. "What is it now?" he asked with annoyance. "I was wondering about your home," Lily said in her small, innocent voice. "My mother studies aliens. She says every species is special. What is your planet like?" Draven looked at her with surprise. No human had ever asked him such a question. Most humans screamed or begged or cried. This child wanted to talk about his home world. "Our world is called Vortha," he said slowly. "It is a proud world of warriors." "Is it cold there?" Lily asked. "Is the air different?" "It is cleaner, sharper, not like this thick, wet air of your planet." Draven rubbed his chest without thinking. "Your world is unpleasant." Lily nodded as if she understood completely. "My mom says humans are special too. She says we are persistence predators." "What does this mean?" "It means we used to hunt by chasing animals until they fell down from tiredness. We can run for a very long time. We can survive in deserts and jungles and frozen places. We adapt." Riss listened to this with growing concern. She had studied human military tactics during her training, but she had never heard these things about human biology. "Human children are also persistence predators?" Riss asked. Lily smiled sweetly. "We are all the same species. Big or small, we are all human. We all adapt." Draven made a dismissive sound. "Enough talking, sit in silence." But the seed had been planted. Riss could not stop thinking about the girl's words. Persistence predators, creatures that never stopped, never tired, never gave up. Creatures that simply waited until their prey collapsed. She looked around the classroom. The humidity was thick now. The windows were foggy with condensation. Several soldiers were breathing hard, and Riss herself felt heaviness in her chest. The bright earth sunlight hurt her eyes even through the curtains. They had been in this room for 2 hours. How much longer would they stay? Lily asked Mrs. Patterson if she could show the aliens something interesting. Mrs. Patterson, playing along perfectly, said that would be fine. Lily walked to the wall near the door where a red box was mounted. "This is a fire alarm," she explained to Draven. "If there is a fire, we pull this handle. It makes a loud noise and water comes from the ceiling to put out the fire." Draven looked at the device with little interest. "Why are you telling me this?" "I thought you might want to know, in case there is a fire." She walked back to her desk and sat down, but now she knew exactly where the fire alarm was, and more importantly, she had reminded herself about the sprinklers in the ceiling. Water would come from above if she pulled that alarm. Lots of water. The afternoon sun moved across the sky. It fell through the gaps in the curtains and made bright lines on the floor. The Vorthak soldiers avoided these lines like they were poison. Their red eyes were not made for such bright light. Lily whispered to Ben, "Start a conversation, talk about anything, get others to join." Ben looked confused, but he trusted Lily. He leaned over to the girl at the next desk and started talking about a video game he liked. She responded. Another boy joined in. Soon, half the classroom was having quiet conversations. The Vorthak translators struggled with the noise. They were designed for one speaker at a time, not a dozen children talking at once. The mechanical voices in the soldiers' ears became garbled and confusing. "Silence," Draven shouted, but his translator could barely be heard over the noise. Lily had found another weakness. The aliens could not handle chaos. They needed order and silence to function. Human children could provide neither. Draven finally restored quiet by firing his weapon at the ceiling. Dust fell and the children went silent with fear. But the damage was done. The soldiers looked shaken and frustrated. Their perfect military discipline was cracking. Rhys walked to Draven and spoke quietly. "Commander, we should leave this room, find a different position. Something is wrong here." "We hold this position until the relay is complete," Draven snapped. "Those are our orders. We do not change plans because of some noise from human young." Rhys looked at Lily. The girl met her eyes without fear. In that moment, Rhys understood something terrible. They were not holding hostages. They were trapped in a room with something that was hunting them. And they had not even noticed until now. But it was too late to warn the others. It was already too late. The sun was setting outside. Orange light filled the classroom, mixing with the artificial glow of the ceiling lamps. The Vorthak soldiers looked tired and sick. Their gray skin had become pale, almost white. Their breathing was loud and rough. But Commander Draven refused to admit anything was wrong. His communication with the fleet was now impossible. The humidity had ruined his device completely. He was cut off from Admiral Saunter and the invasion command. Lily knew it was time to push harder. She began coughing loudly, holding her chest. Ben and the other children joined in, pretending to have trouble breathing. Mrs. Patterson rushed to Lily's side, playing her role perfectly. "She is having an asthma attack. We need fresh air. Open the windows." Draven hesitated. The hostages were supposed to stay healthy. Sick hostages made problems. "Open one window," he ordered. A soldier moved to the window and pushed it open. Warm, humid summer air flooded into the room. To humans, it was just a breeze. To the Vorthak, it was like breathing soup. The soldier who opened the window stumbled backward. His chest heaved as he tried to pull oxygen from the thick air. His weapon drooped in his weakening grip. Lily stopped coughing. She had gotten what she wanted. Now she prepared for the next step. "Everyone talk," she yelled suddenly. "Talk about everything, just talk." The children understood. They had been waiting for this signal. 23 voices erupted at once, talking about games and movies and pets and parents and food and dreams. The noise was incredible. The Vorthak translators went mad. Multiple voices speaking at high pitch, words tumbling over words, sounds crashing into sounds. The soldiers grabbed their heads in pain. Their ears were designed for the quiet clicks of their own language, not the screaming noise of human children. "Silence," Draven roared, but no one could hear him. In the chaos, Lily grabbed a piece of paper and a pencil. She wrote quickly, keeping her body hidden behind her desk. She wrote about the number of soldiers and their positions. She wrote about their weapons and their weakness to humidity. She wrote about the sprinklers and the fire alarm. She wrote everything that might help a rescue team. Then she folded the paper into a triangle, a paper airplane, something every human child knew how to make. A soldier near the open window was leaning against the wall, trying to catch his breath. His eyes were closed. He did not see Lily stand up. He did not see her arm pull back. The paper airplane flew through the open window and disappeared into the evening air. Lily sat back down before anyone noticed. Outside, somewhere beyond the military lines, a soldier would find that paper. He would read it. He would know exactly what was happening inside room 14. The noise finally died down as children ran out of things to say. Draven's face was twisted with anger and confusion. Nothing was going right. His communication was dead. His soldiers were weak, and these human children were acting like they had no fear. He grabbed Mrs. Patterson by the arm and pulled her to the front of the room. Enough games, he snarled. I will show these young ones what happens when humans do not obey. I will make an example. He raised his weapon and pointed it at the teacher's head. The children screamed. Real fear filled the room now. This was not a game anymore. This was death standing in front of them. But one child did not scream. Lily Crawford stood up from her desk and walked forward. She walked past the crying children, past the sick soldiers, past the confused sub-commander Riss. She walked until she was standing between the weapon and her teacher. "Move, child," Draven ordered. Lily looked up at him, and then she spoke in a language that was not English. She spoke in clicks and growls and sharp sounds. She spoke in perfect Vorthak. "If you touch her, not one of your soldiers will leave this building alive." Draven's weapon lowered slightly. His red eyes went wide. "How do you know our language?" "My mother is Dr. Anna Crawford. She is the scientist who discovered that your species cannot survive in humid environments. She is the one who found your weaknesses during the peace talks, and she taught me everything." Lily smiled. It was not a child's smile. It was the smile of a hunter watching its prey realize the trap had already closed. "You have been inside my trap for 3 hours, Commander, and you never even noticed." Draven looked around the room. His soldiers were struggling to stand. Their weapons hung loose. Their eyes could barely focus in the bright light, and outside he could hear the sounds of human forces moving closer. He had walked into a battlefield without knowing it, and a 12-year-old girl had been the general all along. The classroom had become very quiet. Every eye was on Lily Crawford, the small human girl who had just spoken to the alien commander in his own language. Draven stared at her like she was a ghost. No human child should know the Vorthak tongue. No human child should stand before armed warriors without shaking. Yet here she was, small and calm and completely unafraid. "You lie," Draven said, but his voice was uncertain. "Human children are helpless. They are prey." "Your soldiers cannot breathe properly," Lily said in Vorthak. "Your eyes cannot see well in this light. Your communication devices are dead because of the moisture in the air. You have been weakening since the moment you entered this room. I have been watching you fail for 3 hours." Riss stepped forward. Her weapon was pointed at Lily, but her arm was trembling, not from fear but from exhaustion. The humid air had stolen her strength. "Commander, she speaks the truth. I tried to warn you. Something was wrong from the beginning. The child was never afraid because she was never in danger. We were." Draven looked at his soldiers. One was leaning against the wall, barely conscious. Another had dropped his weapon and was holding his chest, gasping for air. Only Riss was still standing at full attention, and even she looked sick. They had conquered 12 worlds. They had broken armies and enslaved populations. And now they were being defeated by temperature and water and a little girl who paid attention in her mother's xenobiology lessons. "What do you want?" Draven asked Lily. "Release the hostages. Surrender your weapons. Let the humans outside take you peacefully." Draven's pride flared. "I am a commander of the Vorthak Dominion. I have never surrendered. I will not surrender to a child." He raised his weapon and pointed it at Lily's face. His hand shook, but his finger moved toward the trigger. Lily did not step back. She did not blink. She simply said, "Then I will show you what human children can really do." She turned and ran toward the fire alarm. Riss tried to stop her, but her legs were too slow. The humidity had made her muscles weak. She stumbled and fell. Lily grabbed the red handle and pulled it down. The alarm screamed through the building. Red lights flashed, and then the sprinklers came alive. Water poured from the ceiling like rain. Cold, clean water that soaked everything, and everyone, to the children, it was just an annoyance. To the Vorthak, it was torture. The aliens screamed. Their skin was not made for so much moisture. It felt like fire to them. They dropped their weapons and covered their faces, trying to block the water from their eyes. "Get down," Lily shouted to the other children. "Under your desks." The classroom door exploded inward. Human soldiers in tactical gear rushed inside, their weapons drawn. They had been waiting for a signal, and the fire alarm was perfect. They had also found a paper airplane with all the information they needed. The rescue took less than a minute. The Vorthak were too weak to fight. They fell to their knees, coughing and shaking, as human soldiers took their weapons and bound their hands. Riss was the first to surrender properly. She dropped her weapon and raised her hands even before the human soldiers reached her. She looked at Lily with something that might have been respect. "You planned everything," Riss said, "from the first moment." "My mother taught me that every species has weaknesses," Lily replied. "You just have to be patient enough to find them." Draven was the last to fall. He tried to raise his weapon one final time, but his strength was gone. The water had stolen everything. He collapsed to his knees, his proud armor dripping, his red eyes dim and defeated. A human soldier approached Lily and wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. "Are you okay, kid? That was incredibly brave." "I was not brave," Lily said simply. "I was just paying attention." Mrs. Patterson rushed over and pulled Lily into a tight hug. The teacher was crying, tears mixing with the sprinkler water on her face. "You saved us. You saved all of us." The other children gathered around, looking at Lily with new eyes. She was the same quiet girl who sat in the back row and drew pictures of alien creatures. But now they knew she was something more. She was a survivor, a fighter, a human. Outside, the sounds of battle continued. The invasion was not over, but room 14 was safe. And it was safe because a 12-year-old girl had understood something the mighty Vorthak Dominion did not. Humans were never helpless. Not the soldiers with guns, not the scientists in labs, not even the children in classrooms. Every human was dangerous if you gave them enough time to think. The captured Vorthak soldiers sat in the corner of the classroom, their hands bound with plastic. Restraints, water still dripped from the ceiling where the sprinklers had finally stopped. Human medics checked the children for injuries while soldiers secured the building. Lily sat on Mrs. Patterson's desk, her wet hair sticking to her face. She was tired. The adrenaline that had kept her sharp was fading now, and she just wanted to see her mother. One of the human soldiers approached her. He was tall and serious, with medals on his chest. "You are Dr. Crawford's daughter, yes? We found your paper airplane. The information saved lives." "I just wrote what I saw," Lily said. "Most adults could not have done what you did. We will need to talk to you later after things calm down. There may be questions from important people." Lily did not want to talk to important people. She wanted to go home and sleep and never think about gray-skinned aliens again. But she nodded because that was the polite thing to do. A crackling sound came from the floor. One of the captured Vorthak communication devices was receiving a transmission. A human soldier picked it up, and a voice filled the room. "Commander Draven, report your status. The relay signal has stopped. Admiral Saunter demands an update." Everyone looked at Draven, who sat against the wall with his head bowed. He did not move. He did not speak. Lily slid off the desk and walked toward the device. The soldier holding it looked uncertain but did not stop her. She picked up the communicator and pressed the button her mother had shown her during xenobiology lessons. "This is Greenfield Elementary School," she said in perfect Vorthak. "Commander Draven and his soldiers have been captured. There are no human casualties." Silence on the other end, then a cold voice spoke. "Who is this? Identify yourself." "My name is Lily Crawford. I am 12 years old. I am the one who defeated your soldiers." More silence. Lily could imagine the shock on Admiral Saunter's face wherever he was in orbit above Earth. A commander of the Vorthak Dominion had been defeated by a child. It was impossible. It was humiliating. "You lie," the Admiral finally said. "This is some human trick. Your soldiers are sitting in front of me right now. They are wet and cold and cannot breathe properly. They surrendered without a single shot being fired by humans. Would you like to speak to Commander Draven? He does not have much to say at the moment." The soldier next to Lily grinned. He was enjoying. This, Admiral Saunter's voice became dangerous. This changes nothing. We will destroy your planet. We will burn your cities. We will enslave your species. Then you will lose, Lily said calmly. Every city has people like me. Every school has children who watch and learn and think. You attacked a building full of young humans because you thought we were weak. You were wrong. We are not weak. We are just small. There is a big difference. She paused and looked at Riss, who was watching her with those strange red eyes. Your soldiers came from a world of warriors. You were trained to fight and conquer. But human children are not trained for war. We learn science and history and art. We learn how things work. We learn to solve problems. And when you put us in a room with a problem, we solve it, even if the problem is 7 armed aliens. Admiral Saunter did not respond. Tell your fleet to leave, Lily continued. Tell them that Earth is not a world of prey. Tell them that every human, from the smallest baby to the oldest grandmother, is capable of fighting back. We do not give up. We do not surrender. We adapt and survive and win. That is what humans do. She dropped the communicator on the floor and walked away. 3 hours later, Lily was sitting in a military vehicle when her mother finally found her. Dr. Anna Crawford was crying as she ran across the parking lot and grabbed her daughter in a hug so tight it hurt. I heard what happened, her mother whispered. I heard what you did, my brave, brilliant girl. I just remembered what you taught me, Lily said into her mother's shoulder. Every species has weaknesses, you just have to watch. The next morning, news spread across the planet. The Vorthak fleet had retreated from Earth orbit. No one knew exactly why. There were rumors of defeats in other cities, of resistance that the aliens had not expected, of an invasion that was costing too much. But those who knew the real story understood the truth. The Vorthak had watched the recording from Admiral Saunter's communication. They had seen a human child speak their language and dismantle their commander's pride. They had realized that this species was different from the others they had conquered. Humans did not wait to be saved. Humans saved themselves. 50 years later, the Greenfield incident was taught in military academies across the galaxy. The Vorthak themselves studied it as a warning. Their textbooks contained one final line about humanity that every young soldier was required to memorize. Never underestimate a human, especially the young ones. They have nothing but time to learn how to defeat you. And somewhere on Earth, an old woman named Lily Crawford smiled as she taught a new class of children about alien biology. On her desk sat a faded paper airplane that she had kept for half a century. She never threw it away.